Here we go. Hey there guys, welcome back to My Lane Perspective. Today we're going to be focusing on the front end of this vehicle. I've already done most of the work this summer, but there was some work that I had to do more recently. So come with me, I'll show you guys all the work that I did focusing on the front end of this vehicle. I'm excited to share there's one modification I've done on almost every single one of my cars, and the research I did shows that you can actually get a lot of performance out of it. So let me show you the performance gains you can get from this one simple mod, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. So come along with me, we'll take a look. Well, the one thing I always do on my cars is paint the brakes. Now, a lot of people say that's something that doesn't really add that much horsepower, and some people even say it doesn't add any. But I'm going to prove you guys wrong. I just went on Google and literally the first search result I found shows that adding some paint to my calipers is actually going to give me somewhere around 100 horsepower. Okay, well, maybe that's not quite accurate, but at the very least, let's get this car jacked up and get the wheels off. Now that we have the wheel off, we're just going to take some 600 grit sandpaper here, and we're going to apply that to the caliper just to rough it up a bit. After sanding, the next thing that I do is spray it down with some brake cleaner. This just helps get all the grease, sand, dust, everything off of there so that it's ready for paint. After that, you can move on to taping, and just want to make sure that anything you don't want paint on, you tape off. Pretty simple. With those beautiful trash bags in place, we can move on to the yellow paint. Again, just something a little bit different. I've seen a couple gray cars use this color to great results, and I'm going to try the same thing here. One of the things that can really make your brakes stand out is adding a decal. Now these are heat resistant, I just ordered them online, and these are official Brembo brakes. I bought a decal, and you just stick it on there, and then finally we'll go over it with a clear coat. So you have the yellow as kind of a base, the decal, and then once that's had a chance to stick on there, we're going to spray it down with some clear. There you have it. In one afternoon, we've been able to take the brakes, which were faded and had the clear coat peeling, add some yellow paint, a decal, and some clear, and a beautiful final result. This next step is going to be restoring the headlights. So as you can see, I found a kit, and I've used it before to great results. Starting with a 400 grit sandpaper, you're just going to be wet sanding and really getting off that filmy yellow layer. This is a pretty abrasive sandpaper, and so the next steps will be a 1000 grit and a 2000 grit, followed by a rubbing compound. That rubbing compound is going to get it ready for step 3, which is where you're going to use the included clear coat. The difference with this one is that it has a UV protectant in it, so that's what's going to help this lens stay looking like new for years to come. It was starting to get dark the night that I did this, so I was turning on the headlights just to kind of see if there was anything that I had missed, and I did notice several times that there was an area that I hadn't sanded as well as I should have. So just a good tip, even during the daytime, sometimes it's good to turn on the headlights just to give you an idea if you missed anything. Alright guys, so this is a pretty easy one. So all I've done here is I'm trying to get some license plate plugs, is what they call them. Now Acura sells a part for this, but it goes for about, I think, $90 a pair, or maybe even $90 a piece. So if you go on the Acura Vine forums, all I've done is just gotten one of these, and I just painted it with touch-up paint, and then I clear coated it. And so I'm going to put those in, and they should cover up those holes about perfect. I just have to drill out the hole a little bit more. We'll give that guy a try. There you have it. That's one in. There you go, you guys. Those ones are installed and officially on there. I'd say they look pretty darn good. But for now, that's license plugs in. And unfortunately, I didn't film any of it, but you guys can see that I did Plasti dip part of my grill. Just the lower part, it was already a faded black, and rather than trying to restore it, I just went with a new plastic paint. So taped it off, used a tarp to cover the engine bay, and see for yourself, that final result came out fantastic. Just be careful with the Plasti dip, it does get everywhere, so you might want to tape a little bit more than I did. Wrapping things up, I will be replacing both of the lower control arms on this car. It's something that the Acura TL of this year in mileage is pretty much overdue for, and doesn't take too long to do. Took me a little bit longer to do the first side, but once I knew how to do it, it was really easy to knock out the second side. Another thing that I did off camera was get an alignment done. The steering wheel was off by a little bit as I drove down the road, so always good to replace the lower control arms and then either do an alignment yourself, or in my case, take it to a local shop. In total, there's only about 5 bolts that you have to undo to get the lower control arm out from the car. It's funny going back and looking at the footage because you can see that I'm loosening everything by hand, but I had a power tool that would have made that way easier. But eventually I did get it out, and you guys will see here there's only a couple more that you have to get to, and then we'll pull the whole thing out, we'll put the new one in, and then like I said, you have to get an alignment done, but otherwise it's a pretty easy installation. It took a little hitting with the hammer, but eventually I got it out of there, and you guys can just see a quick zoom in of the difference between the two pieces and kind of what I was ultimately replacing. But in the next clip, everything's installed, it's ready to go, and that completes the installation of the control arms. And that's all there is to it. So I've worked on the headlights now, we've modified the brakes, gotten those easy performance gains, and I also was able to replace the lower control arm. Overall, I'm very happy with how this build is going so far, and I'm excited to show you guys what comes next. So there's still a little bit of work to do, but that'll be time for another episode. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.